Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news this Thursday morning. And it looks like Joe Biden's losing allies by the dozens. And of course, we've already noted that Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats have already abandoned him. Chuck Schumer is keeping his mouth shut. And the news media is now starting to turn on Biden as well. So it would be no surprise that Kamala Harris as well is going to keep her mouth shut and try to distance herself away from Biden because she knows that the fixes and they are ready to be done with him. He has outlived his usefulness for the regime, and they must replace them. And of course, when Kamala Harris was approached by the questions about Joe Biden and his scandal that he is currently in because he is a criminal, he's been a criminal. The media just failed to report that he was a criminal during the entire 2020 campaign. But we all knew he was a criminal before he was even running. Just like in Brazil, they ran a random criminal here. So let's get to take a look what we have here. And the Saints this year says watch Kamala Harris asked about her future with Joe Biden MIT classified document scandal. Of course you want to avoid this topic. At all costs, Kamala Harris on Friday visited Ann Arbor, Michigan to discuss the Biden regime's efforts to combat the climate crisis. By Friday morning, it was being reported that a second batch of classified documents were discovered in Joe's Biden garage. They're up to 4 batches, maybe 5 now. As of Saturday, by the way, next to his Corvette in the garage on Monday. It was also revealed top-secret intelligence documents related to Ukraine, the UK, Iran were found in Joe Biden's private office shortly before the 2022 midterm elections. Biden stored top-secret files with sensitive compartment information designated at the Penn Biden Center in D.C., U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland appointed a special counsel to investigate Joe Biden's handling declassified documents. The deep state is ready to throw Biden into the garbage can, at minimum to discover classified documents, and the bright Biden's private offense home will derail his 2024 presidential bid. So Kamala Harris was interviewed by Fox 2 in Detroit. After she delivered her remarks, Fox reporter Raja asked Harris, the viability of President Biden in 2024. Your thoughts on what? Given his age, given where we are headed? Do you think that he is the right choice for the next president of the United States? And Kamala Harris just dove right into the talking points. She says Joe Biden is strong, no, and history is going to show that even just into his 2 years that he has accomplished through his presidency more than most administration could have hoped for. Yeah, destroying the country. Would you consider it a job to report or ask Harris repeatedly? Repeated old tired talking points. So the reporter asked again if she would consider running for president because Joe Biden is too old. She says, I am proud to be Joe Biden's vice president, and he has said that he intends to run again. And if he does, I will be running with him. Harris doesn't even believe what she is selling. Yeah. Kamala Harris could care less. She wants a job as president and she would be more than willing to throw Biden under the bus. We had already documented the friction between the Biden and Harris camps, many months ago, talking about how Jill Biden absolutely hates Kamala. And the two camps do not like each other. Obama's camp likes Kamala Harris' camp way better than he likes Biden. And so does the fixes in just as Rush predicted back in November or December of 2020. That Obama would snap his fingers and Joe Biden would go down for some criminal behavior. And that's what we're starting to see right now. Anyway, Kamala Harris is already getting out ahead of it. She is ready to go ahead and become the first unelected woman president in the United States history. Of course, that is how it goes. And that's the only way that she would ever see the presidency. So we'll see how all this plays out. We'll continue to keep our eye on it and see where it will drive us to. And then some significant news, more classified documents found in private library of Biden's Delaware home. A third batch of classified documents was found at the Delaware home of Joe Biden. In his private library. According to the White House, Richard Zabur, a special counsel to Biden, issued a statement that 6 pages of classified documents were found during a search of Biden's library at his home. Previously, Biden's personal lawyers who do not have security clearance discovered 1 page of classified documents in the library on Wednesday and abandoned the search in the room. On Thursday night, Sauber, who does in fact have security clearance, found 5 additional pages with classified markings while he was accompanied by Department of Justice officials. Quote, Because I have security clearance, I went to Wilmington Thursday evening to facilitate providing the document the President's personal counsel found on Wednesday to the Justice Department, Cyber said in a statement. He continues, quote, "While I was transferring it to the DOJ, officials who accompanied me, 5 additional pages with classification markings were discovered among the material with it for a total of 6 pages. The DOJ officials with me immediately took possession of them." Earlier this week, Sabra said, quote, "We have cooperated closely with the Justice Department throughout its review, and we will continue that cooperation with special counsel. We are confident that a thorough review will show that these documents were, quote, inadvertently misplaced and the President and his lawyers acted promptly upon discovery of the mistake," he added. Biden administration fails to comply with classified document probe after vowing, quote, "highest standards of transparency." The Biden administration has failed to comply with the White House Oversight Committee's investigation into Joe Biden's mishandling of top-secret documents. After promising the, quote, "highest standards of transparency in United States history" in a letter issued by Biden on February 4, 2021. He vowed the highest standards of transparency would be revitalized and implemented within his administration. Quote, "In a democracy, the public deserves as much transparency as possible regarding the work of our national security institutions, consistent with legitimate needs to protect sources and methods and sensitive foreign relationships. The revitalization of our national security and foreign policy workforce requires a commitment to the highest levels of transparency," Biden wrote. Representative James Comer, the chair of the House Oversight Committee, requested the National Archives disclosed, quote, "all documents and communications between or among the White House and the Department of Justice or National Archives and Records Administration regarding the documents retrieved from Biden's personal office at the Penn Biden Center." The National Archives has apparently not complied. Quote, "I have jurisdiction over the National Archives. The agency is supposed to do a briefing anytime something like this happens, and they have not," Comer said. He concludes, quote, "Not only have they not given us a briefing even though we've requested one, they have not answered any of our simple requests for information." McCarthy and the GOP-controlled House consider expunging Trump's impeachments. The new GOP-controlled House majority is considering expunging President Trump's 2 impeachments. Quote, "We'd look at it," House Speaker Kevin McCarthy told reporters. The California Republicans suggested Trump should never have been impeached by the Democrat-controlled House over his 2016 presidential campaign, allegedly having colluded with Russia. Quote, "When you find that the final information of the Russia document is all a lie, and we watch what he went through, I would understand why members would want to bring that forward," McCarthy stated. According to reports, dozens of Republicans support reviving a resolution to expunge the impeachment charges that were filed by the last Congress. If passed, the matter would have then go to the Democrat-controlled Senate, or its chances of passage are unlikely. Dems reject match spending cuts, setting up a showdown with House Republicans over debt ceiling. Congress has less than 1 week to hammer out an agreement to raise the debt limit before the U.S. Treasury Department must take, quote, "extraordinary measures." The U.S. government is expected to reach the $31.4 trillion debt ceiling by January 19. The national debt is currently at $31.3 trillion. The debt ceiling was last increased in December of 2021. Members of the conservative House Freedom Caucus have said that spending cuts should match the amount of any debt limit increase. Democrats are advocating a clean debt limit increase before the deadline, setting up a showdown between the parties. Quote, "Congress must act on law inflation to prevent a disastrous default, meet our obligations, and protects the full faith and credit of the United States." The debt limit was increased in a bipartisan way 3 times when Donald Trump was president. Twice from Republicans had majorities in the House and Senate. This time should be no different. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Democratic Leader Hakeem Jeffries said in a statement. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said he's ready to meet with Biden to hash out an agreement. Quote, "I had a very good conversation with the president when he called me, and I told him I'd like to sit down with him early and work through these challenges," McCarthy said this week. House Democrats introduced measure to lower the voting age to 16 years old. Democrats in the House of Representatives introduced a measure this week to lower the federal voting age to 16. A change that has drawn support from top party leaders in the past. The bill, House Resolution 16, would establish that, quote, the right of citizens of the United States who are 16 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of age. The policy would repeal the 26th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which establishes the national voting age as a teen. In the past, a former Speaker of the House and longtime Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi has supported a 16-year-old voting age. Quote, "I think it's really important to capture kids, when they're in high school, when they're interested in all of this, when they're learning about government, to be able to vote," she stated. Biden's 50,000 Afghans cost taxpayers $189 million in damages to U.S. military bases. The nearly 50,000 Afghans that Joe Biden's administration housed on 5 U.S. military bases for months through 2021 and early 2022 cost taxpayers almost $189 million in damages to their facilities. A federal report reveals, according to the U.S. Armed Forces withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021, Biden opened a refugee pipeline that has resettled more than 86,000 Afghans in American communities, many without having been screened or interviewed in person beforehand. Tens of thousands of those Afghans were housed initially at 8 U.S. military bases, including 50,000, who were specifically placed at Fort Bliss in Texas, Fort Lee in Virginia, Fort McCoy in Wisconsin, Fort Pickett in Virginia, and Camp Atterbury in Indiana. Officials at those 5 U.S. bases, according to a Department of Defense Inspector General report, noted nearly $189 million in damages which taxpayers will have to foot the bill to repair. For McCoy saw the heftiest price tag in terms of damages associated with housing the over 12.71 thousand Afghans who stayed at that specific facility, and total Afghans caused more than $145 million in damages at the base, including issues with walls, ceilings, floors, doors, bathrooms, plumbing, electrical systems, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, exterior siding, and most of the facility's barracks. At Fort Bliss, Afghans' house at the base cost $575,000 in damages to mattresses and beds. While at Fort Lee, there were $632,000 in damages to floors, ceiling tiles, and electrical systems. Meanwhile, at Fort Pickett, Afghans caused more than $26 million in damages to walls, doors, plumbing's HVAC systems, fire alarms, and other things. Damages that Camp Atterbury told it $16 million to replace mattresses and furniture, as well as repairing floors, doors, windows, plumbing, fire alarms, and landscaping to the grounds. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Open Source News. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a thing.